fmtraining.tv. My name is Margaret. I'll be your broadcast engineer for today. I did find my camera. It had been launched off its position by a cat. Welcome, everybody. Hope you all are having a great day today. Today we are working on the fundamental layout design series with Nick, which we are finishing up over the next 2 days. The Nick has follow-ups already in mind. If you'd like to support the channel, we do greatly. If you've done this already, thank you very much. Legitimately, it is greatly appreciated. We have these annual subscription bundles. Basically, subscribe to the bundle, you get a ton of videos, 100 plus hours of video content. Videos are highly edited. They are current, up-to-date information on basically how to become a FileMaker developer from like super I know nothing to confident intermediate level skills, which is what these are meant for. Our streams are kind of more eclectic. We cover a lot of topics on the streams. We don't necessarily cover them in order, barring our 60-day series, which I think we're going to end up doing probably once a year-ish. But outside of that, all of this stuff is we cover who happens to be available and wants to come on the show and talk, which means we can go from very beginner to very advanced very quickly. So if you're just trying to learn FileMaker straight off the live streams, you might find it a little more difficult. I suggest you pick up one of these. This is an organized course. With that all being said, hey Nick, what are we doing today?
Hello, Marge. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining today. Okay, so interesting. So today we continue the design and we are going to talk about the how to organize your layout or in the most efficient way. Okay, so how to organize layouts, how to organize fields and related things and portals and stuff like that. So we're going to learn how this works. Okay, so because when you pretty much in FileMaker, when you build a layout, pretty much you are building an app, you are building an application, pretty much. So I know that FileMaker is not really good at it because we don't have like Bento had in the past, predefined stuff or pre-organizing things. Uh, is not FileMaker is not positioning things in the layout, or they lack this. 15 years ago when I was there, we start talking about this, how to organize a layout, and they dropped it, and it's a pity because there's so many things they can do to make those things great, and not very complicated, not very complicated way. But I think at one point they will have to do that. They have to go there because or if they don't want to lose our attention from people, because um, you know I realized that when you want to build something great in FileMaker, it's time consuming. Um, we are far away from building something from other platform, right? But I think between building something with Xcode or C++ or whatever, and using one of those websites where you can organize your layout and stuff. So between those two, I think FileMaker could do something, right? Especially that we use HTML as layout management. So pretty much what you do with FileMaker, you are editing a website, pretty much. It's the layout, it's a website, technically. Behind the scene, the same thing. You have CSS, you have HTML, it's the same thing. It's using the same technology as a website. So there's no reason why they couldn't come with something smarter. Okay, but we don't have this. So what I want you to understand, right? It's that if you are consistent in everything you build in FileMaker, I mean you have components, right, in your layouts that they all look the same, right? So that means they all have the same purpose. So everything that has the same purpose in different layouts, they must look and behave the same, because first that helps you a lot because you can borrow an object, repurpose the object, remap the object, changing the table, changing the field, and boom, you have a new object, right? Ready to go. You don't need to rebuild something, right? So you can reuse objects instead of rebuild objects. So you save a lot of time doing this. Trust me. So you have this benefit, and the second benefit, you have a better visibility. I mean, your software, your solution, your project looks much comfortable to use because it's predictable from a user perspective. Because if it looks the same, it behaves the same, so they don't have to learn again, right? So that's why I'm using and reusing and reusing and reusing always the same objects in the layouts with different purpose, but they behave the same, they look the same, and just showing different fields, different info. They still have button, but they show, they do different things, but they all look the same. So here we are. Now we're going to learn how to organize a layout. Okay. So let me share screen. So first I want to go there and I want to double click here. So let me do this. Okay. Okay. I have so many window open, right? So I don't want to make it too complicated. Okay. So let's share screen
Yep. See it?
and let's what I want to do. I want to do something. I don't know. Okay. So let's share screen. Okay. So when you organize a layout, right? You need to think a layout as columns, right? So because if you read a newspaper, a magazine, what do you have? You have columns, right? You have columns, and because it's easier for the eye to look at things, right? And when you build a layout, so you need to organize your data in a way that the purpose of the data must be identifiable immediately. That means don't mix things that they don't belong together, right? So because that will confuse your users. So everything that is together need to be identifiable as a group, as a bucket, as a like a cabinetry in a kitchen. I keep using that analogy. So you need to organize your thing, and this is hard, right? To come with something, but after 20 years, 25 years of modern um, design, let's say, I came with the conclusion that I came with a design with an architecture that works for 99% of the time, right? So, and doing this using that technique of architecture, pretty much you get all the benefits as housing developers, right? So for example, you want to buy a new home, you have a new development in your neighborhood, you want to buy a new home, and um, pretty much they show you like 3, 4 different type of home, right? But that's the same window, same size, and all the windows in the United States have the same size, or what I mean? So the material is the same, you know, why? It's because everything is standardized. So so you can reuse the window from that home is the same for that. right? So and just because you come with the same architecture, you have a different style, but it's the same home, pretty much, right? So with the layout architecture, you need to come with the same technique. So for example, here I have an example, right? So how you can see how you organize your layout. So it's a contact layout, right? A little bit more complicated than the typical contact layout, right? But um, you have columns, right? So I'm showing columns here. So you have the column here is where you have I'm showing one because I want to keep privacy of the people, right? Because that's live data. So I have what's the name? You have the column here where it's the master detail, is the master of the master detail. So you have this is this, right? This here, right? So you have this column here. Then you have another column here where you have things identified, right? So you have their first name, last name, nickname, the mailing address, the phone, right? Right? Using the same technique I show you, right? Um, their email, some phones, contact stuff, right? So you have, this is the master detail. This is the main detail of that layout, right? So you have one column, two columns. And then here you can see you have pretty much three columns. One, two, three, right? Forget about this, but you have one, two, three columns, right? Here. And so in this panel, I organized with three columns: the sites, the parcel, and the detail of the parcel, right? But if you go there, I continue. So you have one, two, three columns, because this here, I'm showing, so I'm not clicking here because I don't want to show the thing. But you have the site, you select the parcel, and here you have all the documents linked to that parcel. If I go there, I have all the documents linked to that parcel. Okay. Oh yeah. Right. So here I have all the documents. And you can see here, remember what I showed you yesterday, right? About how many detail you can put in a small widget like this, right? The date, obviously, since I am in documents, obviously, it's the document date, right? It's the date of the documents. So you need to make, it's make sense, right? I mean, document, I have a date, it's a date of the document. Then PDF means, okay, that the format, right? And then I have the size of the document. Then I have what it is. Then I have the address. And then I have the name of the file that is inside the container, right? With the doc number and some information. So you say, and of course, I have the year related to that, the tax year related, because that tax guy, the tax year related to the documents. So you see, I have a lot of information here, right? In a very small amount of real estate, a very small real estate, right? Correct. So, but you can see everything is organized with columns, right? Because when you have a lot of things related, like here, right? So you have the sites, then you show the parcel for that site, and then you have a choice between different, right? things, right? You have the invoice, there's no invoice here. You know, the fee info and the valuation, right? So this is inside this. Inside, this is what I have organized with always with column. For example, here, this is one big column. Here is one big column, even though I have two columns, this and this, right? Invoice the same. I have the invoice link and the details of the invoice. And here I have the document and the document itself, right? Then you can, so this space here, you organize each space is identified. So for example, here I have this column here with the main info of that contact. This is the contact. All of this here is in the local table. Okay, this is about the contact. I select the contact. This is about the contact. All of this. Okay, then this is about site. Here it's about the preference, right, for that contact. What do you want? You know, the correspondent preference. You want the USPS, but some want the email, phone, text, right? Whatever, right? The payment preference. What you want? Check, credit card, PayPal. You know, for each person, for each contact, I can have preferences. Okay, like send invoice due notice. Sometimes you don't want because they are big accounts and they have 2,000 parcels and property and you don't want to send, you know, so you said no, right? When you don't want that to happen, right? So you have a preference, right? And then you have other preference, all other override if you want, right? And you have, so we can see here also it's separated by like columns, right? So I separate columns, right? One column, two columns, three columns, right? You can see. You can see the, sorry, I click here, I should. So you organize always by column. So you can have larger, smaller column, you know, you can adapt the width of your column based on what you want to organize. Okay. But everything needs to be in column in order to look vertical. Because if you want to convey a sense of comfort and readability, you need to be vertical, like a column in your newspaper or in your magazine or whatever. It needs to be vertical. You don't use the horizontality a lot in a software. You use it to symbolize a header, for example, or a footer. But you don't put this like this, boom, 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 boom. No. Always adopt verticality like this. You don't put John, Rainbow, boom, like this. You don't put this horizontal. No, it doesn't look comfortable. I'm going to come to talk about that later. You put everything vertical. Here, it's easy to read. This is easy to read, right? Understand? Here, it's easy to read, right? It's vertical. It is vertical. So, and you must adopt the list format as much as possible. But when you organize your portal, because these are portals, right? So you need to adopt, instead of adopting the list like the Excel system, you know, like instead of having this a list like this, right? Like this, you know, you have, instead of having a portal where you have all of those things aligned like a Excel, right? Well, you can't, if you adopt this technique of having like a portal like this, for example, I don't know, like this, right? If you adopt a list like this here, right? Well, you won't have a real estate enough, right? So if this is a lot, if you want to put that in one line, like in one row like this, you want to put all of the, it will arrive here, around here, right? So if I want to annotate, it will arrive here, right? So you will have a line like this, right? So in that case, well, you are screwed in your design, okay? You're screwed. So instead of using horizontal line like an Excel spreadsheet, for example, right? Use this technique, right? When it comes to see something and get somewhere else, right? Because if you want to just display a list, right? You can use it like this. It's an activity log, boom, right? So what happened there, you can see. So you have a list. This is a list. That's fine, okay? Because this list is just to show me what happened, right? Nothing more. But here's different. Here, it's a button that I want to select to see something else, right? So you don't use this list format for that, right? That you have a list and then you click and then you go somewhere else. So that means you need to another layout. But in that case, you build a lot of complication in terms of navigation, right? Because you are always back and forth. Imagine that if I click here, I need to go to another layout to see this, and then you go to another layout to see this, and then you go to another layout. Too many layouts, too many back and forth, too many navigation, too many layout to maintain. Okay, so that's why here this technique of putting all together and you can see I'm repeating the same thing over. Okay, I'm repeating the same thing. This here is the same as this here, right? This is the same as this. I have no difference because I'm reusing and reusing and reusing the same thing with the same uh, building blocks, right? This here where I put different info, but this is there. I don't have to redesign it, right? Are you still there? Because I feel like
Yes,
my, okay, yeah.
we're still here. Yes.
I don't know why it's still I have this spinning wheel there for
The
something.
lag? No, your audio's been totally fine. We do have a quick question.
I don't know. It's I don't know what happened. I have the spinning wheel here. I don't know why. I wasn't doing anything.
Yes.
So anyway, so you can
Real
see
fast, Nick. We have a question. Is
yeah,
parcel
go
the
ahead.
same as a sales order processing and accounting? I'm not familiar with that term outside of parcel of land.
Parcel
So,
is it's what you have when you own a house.
mm-hmm.
Your house is built on a parcel.
Yes. Okay. So these are land parcels then.
Yeah. So
Got it.
it's so you know and your tax everything tax related on a property is related to the land you occupy on on the soil of the United States,
Yes.
right? So this is
Mm-hmm.
how the tax is calculated.
Got it.
I mean, the parcel is what identify your property. It's not the number, the street number. No, what identify your property in the tax world is the parcel, right? They don't, they don't talk about their address or whatever. They have a parcel numbers, right? And that is organized by county and different states. So you have different state, different counties. So it's a big mess. Trust me. So so when we talk about parcel, you have a site and you have in one site you have different parcel. For example, when you have like a condo or something like this, right? So, well, you
Mhm.
have a site and you have different parcel because in that case, your your apartment is a parcel. So it's complicated. So anyway, so um, so did you get it? The concept of vertical columns, right?
Mhm.
Right. So when you have a lot of things, right? Well, you need to adopt the same technique of columns. Don't go wild in the horizontality. Don't do that. Stay in the column format where the eye feel comfortable. Your eyes must feel comfortable with what you display. If you have too many things side by side, it starts to be unreadable. This example here, it's an exception because it is not something that you edit. This is a header, right? I have this one and I have this one, right? But this is not editable, not editable, not edit. This is just a header, right? I mean, here I have a button, here I have a button, I have a date with time, and here I have the balance. So it's information. So it's horizontal, right? Because it looks like a header. Sometimes I have the same thing on the bottom. Okay. So do we have any question on this?
Um, Notice that there are drop shadows on the primary information and not on the secondary information.
What do we mean?
Like there's drop shadows on the primary information, contacts, details, and not on the secondary information, which is sites, preferences,
Here,
activity.
here. So
I
that
think
mean
so, yeah.
you mean about the drop shadow here?
I think on the actual, hmm, I think on like your two details, because there's a shadow like if you like beneath the active one, right? Like if you click.
Yes. So the I'm using the shadow here to. So I have many things to show you that this is active one.
Mm-hmm.
This is gray, gray, and this white, right? I have this bar here to say, okay, boom, this one is the one selected, right? Correct.
Oh, okay,
And
no, okay, hold on, never mind. I was wrong. He means behind all the boxes, like you were correct. All the big white boxes with the drop shadows,
yes,
he was curious.
I'm using the drop shadow because it gives a sense of depth. Okay, so it makes the layout less dull, right? And less boxy, let's say. It's boxy, but it's not boxy like this. Because if everything was like this, it would have been a mess, okay, with those box like this. But here is this is a group. This is more than this. This here is more than this. So yes, I'm using the drop shadow because it looks great, right? And it makes it, okay, it does the job. It does the job very well, right? You identify those blocks very quickly, right? This block, this block, this block, this block. So you see the blocks like this, right? You understand that this here is the control of that box, right? You understand that this here is a control of that box, right? It's understandable, right? This is the control of that box because it belongs together physically, visually, it is attached. Here, it is attached as well, is on top of this box, this big box here. So everything here controls the box. All of this control that box, and this control that box, right? So it's easily identifiable, right? And here you understand what's going on because you have the arrow here. So when you click here, right, you know that you're going to activate this. And yeah, I'm zooming, so it's slow everything. I typically don't have this, but yeah, right? So when you click here, you have the info coming, right? So now, if we don't have question about this, I can go to the next topic.
Yep, there we go. I think we're good.
Okay, so it's hard to tell you guys all what you can do, but for example, if you have like uh, a project, for example, right? And in the project, you have uh, people working, staff attached to the project, and you have material attached to the project, and you have stuff, or documents attached to the project. Well, you do like this, right? So you organize. Okay, I have the project info, what it is, the company attached to, you have the project info, right? And then here you have, okay, I have the staff, I have the material, I have I don't know, the timeline, the project, the document of the project, the invoice about the project, the quote about the project, whatever, you know, what suits you here. So you organize like this. So when you have this, if here you have the staff, you list the staff here. When you click one staff, you have the information you want to display about the staff, right? So you understand. So you keep a silver lining like this, right? So this technique here works for anything, right? So when you build something, okay, when you reuse the same thing always and always and always, right? Well, it gives a sense of comfort because when I go there, I have the same construction of this, right? It's the same, right? So, and here I have a different list. Why? Is because uh, I have less information to display, right? Much less. For example, here, if this was staff, here I will be showing the name of the staff, for example, right? Just the name and of the guy, right? Or the lady. So when you have less things, but you have less information, but um, the first step in order to show something here, right? Well, you need to have a more prominent design to emphasize that, say, okay, this is the main stuff, right? This is the main stuff. So you need to adopt one design for this and one design for this, right? And you stick with it. So you have the master, master details or master here, and you stick with it, right? The same for this. All your master detail here needs to be the same on all across all your solution. First, it's easier to build because this part here, this part, right? This part, it's this, right? It's always the same, or this, let's say, this part is always the same everywhere with slight differences, but it's always the same. So I don't have to think about building it. I copy paste and I remap. I change the layer, I change the field and stuff, but this is the same, right? On all the layouts. That helps, right? This here, always the same. It could be larger, it could be wider or narrower. Sometimes, you can play with this depending on what you want to display. right? But it's always the same. So, and then you can reuse and be more efficient, right? This here, when I use that, when I need something like this, right? The main, let's say the main access to a master detail more complex, I use always the same. I don't rebuild this. I reuse and reuse, right? So now the the benefit of this, right, is that when you organize with columns and you organize everything like vertical, you understand what this means. First, you understand that this is site. First, I'm saying this site. So let's back off. When you put sites here, the main button names sites, okay, or staff or invoice or whatever. Everything needs to be about sites. It cannot be about something else because otherwise you confuse your user, right? So here I'm saying site and I have 17 sites. Okay. So you understand that the 17 here is not how many, or how many step I did today, right? It's the number of how many sites I have in this for this contact. So I don't need a label for that. You understand, site 17, right? So why I adopt this technique and not 17 sites, like put the 17 here, is because before I was doing this, I was saying 17 sites, okay? But what about when it's one site? So you said one site with S, right? No, it's one site and two sites. So I was tired of dealing with this because I wanted to be like uh you know accurate, right? So I came with that it's better to say sites and put parentheses and how many things you have. Activity the same, invoices the same, documents the same, right? So you don't have to take care of the S and not the S if there's one. Okay. And when it doesn't need, you don't put it, right? So here it's about sites. So this here, the main column of this is sites. Ergo, here, thanks to that button, right? If I click here, I'm going to add a site to that contact, okay? Because this column here, it's the site columns. It's a column of the site. I know it, right? First, because I start with sites here and I know that the starting point of the entire block here, this tab here, the starting point is sites and I have add site. So I know this is sites, okay? I could easily, like Apple do in your, if you have an iPhone, even Android, if you go to I don't know, playlist for your music, you go to the playlist tab in your phone, and I bet with you, you have just a plus sign here dancing in the air, floating in the air. That's all. Because you don't need more. You are in playlists in your phone, and the plus in the playlist, tab, well, it won't add a contact. It will add a playlist, correct? So here, okay, I put a little bit more than just a plus, but I could just put a plus, right? If I wanted, because it's identifiable. Now, here I have two pluses. I'm adding a site, and when I am in a site, I'm adding a parcel in that site, right? So this, it's a parcel list. I know it's a parcel list because I have add parcel here, right? So I know this is a parcel. It's a list of parcel because this block here, this column is identified by the button itself. I don't need to say list of parcel and have a plus sign here. This is too much. You add too much things. You don't need, you use the button to identify what's below. But this technique works if what you display is identifiable easily, like this. There's no confusion possible here because this column here, it's separated that from that column, right? I have a separation here, right? So this block here, it's site. This block here is parcel, right? So when you come with a clean design like this, so you have one button that does two two things, right? For you, you do the action and identify what it is. Of course, when I click show all parcel, right? I hope it won't take long. And when I do zoom, everything's so freaking slow.
Yeah, nature
Well,
of sharing stuff.
okay, so I don't know why this is here, but um, when I click all, look what happened. I can no longer add a parcel because, well, I'm showing all parcels. So which one, I cannot add a parcel to which site since I'm showing all of them here, right? So the add parcel button disappear because I can no longer, if I click one, yeah, then the add parcel come back because now I can add a parcel here. Okay. So when you have the good design, well, you can do something like this, right? You can do something like this because it's easy. You have one button to show and hide. You don't have a lot of things. Less object you put in your layout, better is. For example, do you see a lot of buttons here? How many buttons you see? Okay, I mean button, right? One, two. We can identify that at the bottom. To here we have buttons, right? But I'm not displaying a lot of things, right? For example, here, when I have selected a site, right? You see that the icon is changing, right? This icon changed. It's the meatball now, okay? So when I click here, something come. I can move the site or I can remove the site. But here, I cannot remove that site. So, and I explain why in the tooltip. You can remove a contact with parcel attached. Oh, I have it should say site. I have a bug here. And here I can move the site from one contact to another. For example, when a property got sold, well, you take the site off that guy and you put to another guy. You can move, right? Here the same. Here I don't have the button. Here I have it because this is the one I selected. So I can click here and I can say, I can move the parcel or remove the parcel, right? I have it. So the buttons are inside the drawer and not exposed. I don't want here to have an icon or I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't want here to have a button. So no, you have the button here, is there, is not prominent because it's dangerous, right? I don't want that to happen all the time, right? You understand? So
Hmm.
you have many benefits on doing this. Here the same, right? Here the same. I've action here, right? And sometimes you can have a lot of actions. Uh, where's there? Where's there? I don't know. Did I close it? Well, I don't know where it is.
Window hiding somewhere?
Oh, here.
Ah, there
Is
it
there?
is.
Okay, here I have a bunch of stuff. So do you want to display all of this in your layout, right? No. Is there copy, omit, show, open, show count, you have thing here, you have thing here, right? Inside this block there, right? You have different actions in a popover, which is a perfect application for popover, right? So you don't display too much things like this, right? In your layout, boom, clickable at all wind, right? Open to the wind. No, you don't, right? So when you need to identify where to put the action, for example, here, you understand that this will copy the email. And I tell you, when I copy this, when I say copy, well, I copy the email, right? Or I copy this one, right? You understand what that means, right? Like this here, you understand what that means. It means copy. I can copy this. I can copy this also. I copy the parcel number, you know, because the customer wanted, right? So I can copy the URL to go to I can copy this. I can copy this. Here I had more space, so I put the copy uh, with the word. But here no, here I'm using the typical copy icon, right? That we have on all the phones and stuff like that. So this icon here, it's identifiable because we have everywhere, right? So I'm using the copy icon. I have the copy icon here, right? And here, I put the name because I have space. So you understand? So this is when you have actions that belong to, something. For example, here, I have other actions here. I don't know why this is there, right? So I have a lot of things going on here, okay? So I can export, import, so everything about update, those things, right? So imagine that I have all those buttons here in the layout. No, you build like your own menu and you put everything there, right? And then when you click here, you can have other actions. For example, if I open this, that open another layout where I can do things, okay? And you can see I'm using the same technique, columns, right? So that that a reports management, right? So you want to do this, do this, do this, and you can go there, invoice, and you have other uh, what's the name, reports that you can generate, right? Then at the bottom you have launch selected reports, right? So you have a UI to do what you want to do. Always you need to give to yourself a UI to put things on the table, right? you cannot just rely on pop-up menus, and no, you can't. You know, when you want to or buttons, you build buttons, right? I show you, many times how to build this. I don't know. I show you. Yes, it was the previous. When did it was during the design, right? I came with this, right? The how to build. Maybe we can how to build this. Um, where it was? Yeah, how to build this a button list, right? So it was the first day or the second day. We talk about this, how to build something with a button and that launches scripts, okay? But it's not a button, it's a record, right? I teach that at the beginning, right, Marge,
Yes,
right?
you did.
Okay, so this technique here, the technique I'm using here, is the same technique I'm using here. When you go there, you open this. This here, it's not a button. This here is not a button. It's a record, right? If you want to build something like this with buttons, right? Forget it. Forget it. Too complicated. This here is the same technique I show you on the other thing here, on this. It's the same technique. The same, right? So I have a record here. This is a table, and this is another table where I have records, right? And I select those, right? And if I go to the system table, system here, right? Uh, reports. Here are my reports. Okay. So yeah, since I'm using that technique, maybe we can do a webinar about this too. Since I reuse that technique a lot, to have records used as buttons. So here, identified as reports, right? You can see here, this is the same as this. Stat invoice, right? And inside this, I have this, right? See, state form, and here, save AOA page one desktop, save notices okay? And for each one, I say, okay, what does it do, right? Well, it execute that script with those parameters, right? For each of them, right? Yeah, no, I have parameter here, but I changed my mind. So you have each of them will launch something, but it's not a button. It's a record that will launch a script, correct? So you saw that you learned that in this part of the design stuff, because it is very useful to manage to deal with this, right? Instead of having buttons. I use buttons sometimes, when I have two like this, of two here or three here. Yeah, I'm using button bars. This is a button bar, okay? But this, no, you know, it's not a button bar, because using this, I'm using relationship to show, to display the things that are related. So do we have questions?
Yes. Is there a way of adding a context indicator near the top of the layout? Context sites, like we would see on a website, showing the path of the current view, or having a highlight applied to each level in the new chain.
Oh, when you have a different, oh, you want to progress navigation display. Okay,
Yes.
so you say, okay, you went to contact, then you went to site, then you went, okay. Well, I tend not doing this because on in FileMaker most of the time we don't need that, right? But because I mean, especially the way I'm building things, because here, for example, I don't leave the layout. I don't leave the layout. It's there. So I don't need to have a progress because it's there. The progress is there. I'm on site. I say to site, it's a pass. I say to pass, boom, right? So I don't really need, I mean, um, if you want to go to another layout and you want to come back, right? Well, yeah, you have many ways to build this depending on the complexity, you know, but I typically avoid this. And if you noticed, it tends to go away even from website. Don't know if you noticed this. Um, it tends to go away because um, they replace this vertical horizontal navigation display by something like this, right? So you know where you are, right? I'm on contact, right? So uh, because if you need many layouts to go to a layout and go to another layout, well, you are you are using a aging architecture. It was back in the day. I understand why we're doing this. You know, where we were, you had one layout, then you click and you go to another layout, and then you click, you go to another layout because a 13-inch 600 a 13-inch screen, 640 by 480 pixel, right? Um, the cost was $5,800 in the 80s, right? Late 80s. I know because I bought one. You know, a 13-inch screen. So screen were extremely expensive, right? But now for $150, you can have a 24-inch screen, right? So it tends to be less a problem, right? Because we have larger screen. Now, I perfectly understand that a solution like this with small screen, I will have to build that differently. I totally agree, right? So if you have if you have a constraint real estate, well, yes, you will have to click and go somewhere else. Okay. By the way, okay,
Mm-hmm.
here in so that's something I'm going to show tomorrow, but I'm going to show what do like a teasing. If I want to go to that parcel, right? I want to go there, right? Well, I double click and it's going, normally it's going there. No, why? It's broken? Oh, no, no, it's going.
Just lag.
Okay, yeah. So here, right? I am in the parcel. And then I come from contact, right? Correct? So I was in contact. So if I click on contact, I go back where I was, right? So I can do it. Same here, right? So this is a site. I want to edit that site. I want to go to that site. I double click here and I go to the site. So now you understand. So it's all about navigating between contact site parcel, right? This is the main, let's say, navigational stuff. Okay. So I was in contact, I double click on site, I go to site, I was in contact, double click on parcel, I go to parcel, right? But if I am on parcel, right? So I was in one parcel before, I stay where I was, right? So I can navigate from here and here and here. That's why I have these three buttons on top, right? Because this is the main navigation, right? So that's why I have this. So when I'm in one context like this, I can go from one to one. Remember, I double click on the 12,009. Okay, if I click on site, I will be in that site because I went there, right? And on the parcel because I double click on this one, right? And you can see layouts look the same when I go from one layout to another layout, same column system here, right? The same column, the same um, type of construction here, right? Same here. When I go there, documents, I use and reuse the same, right? Here, column, column, column. Here, okay, I have one like spreadsheet like this, a list and button like this, right? So anyway, so you see the column system, right? It's what makes everything discoverable and easy to read, and you can organize your stuff. I understand. Okay. Here we talk about how to organize architecture. I'm not, okay. I'm the architect now. You know, the architect is not going to build the walls of your home, right? That's a mason that doing this. Okay. So we're not doing masonry here. We're doing design, uh, architecture. But if you want me to explain to you how to be, okay, in another webinar. So how to organize um, what we call that master detail, because that's what it is, one level, second level, third level, and fourth level. So there's no limits, okay, how to build this, right? So it's not that complicated. It's very simple. Uh, Obviously, it's all about um, relationship, right? So I can do that. Maybe that will be the next. What do we have on the next topics or March? I have one day or something.
You wanted to do list stuff, like this list 1, 2, then list 3, 4, and then 5, like a deep dive into the list function. And then looking at,
But
give me a second.
no, what's the next scheduled?
Uh,
Uh,
your next scheduled is, I'm sorry, I'm double checking my schedule real fast. Because we have like a big break for a bit. Next one I have on schedule is intermediate and advanced relationships.
yeah.
We're gonna
So
do
that
it.
when that starts?
That starts in the 6th of, so not the 6th, the 2nd of June. So,
Yes. So after tomorrow, that's my next day, my last day on design. But I have a break for 2 weeks, right?
yeah, you basically have a break for 2 weeks, and then we need, well, you'll have to talk, but then there's a really weird week where we need random days to fill in before you start your next series.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
next series starts on the 2nd.
Yeah.
So,
We can do like random stuff like this, but
yeah.
um, this construction here is not really complicated, right? To build this master detail, right? Because there's records, tables, you know, the site table, you know, the site, I have the site table, right? So, and, but there's a way, right, to to connect things together, and we call that cross-reference table. So, and if you don't have a cross-reference table, right, you're screwed, right? Because you can do that, right? So maybe I can after the that would be good because I'm going to dive deep in the relationship, and I'm going to show you things like crazy a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
I really want to show you the power of the relationship, because if you don't master the relationship, well, you know, it's all of the all what you see here is about relationship, or all of this, you know, all of this. And if you don't master the relationship well, well, everything is slow. But here's not, because believe it or not, this table, even though I'm selecting something here, and this, it's one, it's anchor buoy. It's one level in the relationship. It's not two or three levels. That means this, this here is behind this one, you know, because I have the main record, related record, related record, related record. It's all one level. It's not, this one is not the third in the relationship. It's as narrow to that level than this one. And that's why it's not freaking slow. You understand?
Yes.
So want to show. So so that's why, yeah, the master detailing technique, you need to, you know, it's all one level. You can see this is my contact table here, right? This is where I am here, this, right? Forget about this. This is just for calculation related this, but uh the main here is there, right? So this is it's all one level, all of them, right? All one level. So, and that's why when I'm here, even this one here is at the same level than this one, which will be the same level at this one, will be the same, you see, the same level. It's not like 1 and 2 and 3. No, it's not like this, you know? You know, so that's why it's not slow, because otherwise it will be slow, right? But that's another topic. So we don't have another question. We can,
We do have a question.
yes.
It just occurred to me, does FileMaker have a right-click option using the desktop program application? Like,
Right quick.
if you right-click something, does it drop down a list? Is that what you're asking?
Mm, this.
And then they asked, how does that work on Go? I don't know if that exists on Go. Does that exist on
What,
Go?
the double tap?
The right-click, like a list of things dropping down if you... Is there an
Like
equivalent?
this, right? But this doesn't exist on Go.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
No. They
Oh.
on the mobile, you have the tap and hold, and then you have something coming, right? Like for example, on WhatsApp, which is something I'm using like 24/7. If you tap and hold on the chat, you can preview the chat without going there. Or if you tap and hold on the contact, or you can delete, rename, whatever, you know, you have options. So you have the tap and hold. On Go, we don't have this. I wish, right? But that means they need to rebuild many things, right? I wish we could have a native double click, or we can have, you know, I could have a right click menu dedicated to that object. But here, if I click, since I have a button here, right? Well, I cannot right click. I can right click here, but I cannot right click here. right? In an object, I don't, right? So yeah, we have some limits in FileMaker, right? So that's why we need to have the right click, right? I reinvent the double click for my convenience because I think double click is cool, right? I'm using that a lot. So for example, here, double click is cool because if I double click, I edit, right? Double click, I can edit the name. So that avoid a rename button or whatever, right? So you avoid buttons when you double click, poof, right? You edit, right? So yeah, so double click tomorrow because double click is very important in my opinion, double click is very important in the design because it adds you another dimension. You know, when I want to go there, double click, which is natural behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a natural behavior. So that would be tomorrow double click. I wish I could talk about more about design, but I can go more deep, but I want to be, I want to explain. So now you understand how this works. You know, you have here, this is a slide, right? So you have a slide here and you put whatever you want in the slide, right? And this is a slide as well, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you understand that also here, this, it's a list based like, like I built here, right? I don't remember where it was. Um, there are records. When you click here, you have options, right? That list of um, these records, right? So otherwise, we have been complicated to build this with buttons, right? So I can continue this by explaining each part. For example, I can start the next webinar, I can start to, let's say, reproduce this, how to make this working. Okay, for example, like this, take the same example and dissect everything, right? And rebuild this, right? And then come with, I don't know, here, how to build this, or, I can come with something like this, right? Or build something like this, for example. Right? So how I can get this to be something, right? And this to be something else, right? Yeah, it's slow because of Zoom, but normally it's instant, right? So I have something here, and if I click here, right, I can choose something else. So it's the same field, right? The same space, so that one field, that's the same field. I don't change fields, right? And this is not a button, right? So how this works, right? So I have different possibility with one field without building something complete. This is a plural record, right? So how we can build something like this, right? I can do that. So we build each object, like each part of it, right? I can do that, dig that. So we did that first session on the webinar, this webinar about the basics and stuff like this. And now we can go and, do you want that from me?
Yes.
I'm okay. So yeah, but just, I create a new I create a new file, and then I put, I create that right for you in front of you, right? So that's the best way because it's not that complicated at all. That's why it's, sometimes it annoys me because this is super simple, like, to build. While if you want to build this with a button, right, it's a nightmare. Even, but because you know buttons, so you want to use button because you know buttons, right? But it would have been a nightmare to build that with a button. Okay. So yeah, uh, we do that. So next, I'm going to write the description to be a generic description about this, and then we have a large, mini series, like you said.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome, Nick.
Okay.
Someone's asking about double click, but we're tackling that tomorrow. So come back tomorrow
Yes,
for the
tomorrow.
double
Yeah,
click
that will be,
adventure.
yeah, tomorrow.
Okay, I think we're good, Nick. Ready to wrap up?
Yes,
Thank you very much. Good to see
thank
you.
you.
Thank you for the education. All right, have a good one, everybody. I will see you later. Bye bye.
Bye.